When looking for your favorite tools and supplies for your next flooring job, we have the absolute best place to shop online. Head on over to shagtools.com, the pro's choice for everything from cutters, adhesives, knee pads, shower systems, and more. Shag Tools carries all the premium brands you know and trust. In stock with fast shipping to either you or your job site. And right now, our new customers are going to receive 10% off their initial purchase using the code HUDDLE10. That's right, HUDDLE10 at shagtools.com.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, your weekly playbook helping you gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here every single week to help you win. For our new viewers, welcome to the team. What's up, Mr. Daniel?
I'm back. People can hear me this week.
Yeah, we missed you last week. We needed you. All right, today's sponsors, NAFCT and Divergent Adhesives. If you need training coming up October, what is it, Daniel?
20th, I believe.
20th. We are, NAFCT is having a sheet vinyl heat weld flash coving, I believe, training.
20th
and that is
to the 24th.
And where's it at?
Columbus, Ohio at America's Floor Source. It's an amazing facility that they got there.
Awesome. So, if you're in the resilient world, want to get in one of the most in-demand floorings that are projected to continue in demand, you should probably check out the NAFCT heat weld and sheet vinyl course there in Columbus. Reach out to Daniel, reach out to NAFCT. And we want to give a shout out to Divergent Adhesives for sponsoring today's show as well. So both of these companies are great sponsors of the Huddle, showing you how much we care as well as they care about training and quality products. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and hit us up on the social channels. Let us know what you're thinking about, what we can help you guys work through, maybe get some experts on, and help continue to curate our topics. Speaking of topics, today's topic is implementing effective quality control measures. We got our homeboy out on the golf course today. He's going to participate and show you what quality does. It gets you on the golf course. Good quality control measures.
Get you on the golf course. I don't know about golf game, that's for sure. It's all about the relationships that you build. And hey, I just want to add, you guys that have me on mute just in case they say some things that aren't quality.
Aren't Huddle approved.
But there's a lot of interest in the course coming up in Columbus, Daniel. I just wanted to let you know that. Had a couple of gentlemen that exchanged contact information. I actually gave them your information as well, so they can reach out. And now we had some of our neighbors were interested. Some of the local flooring companies interested in attending as well.
Sweet.
Awesome. What's up, Jose de Jesus?
Yeah, he was with you guys down there at convention last week too, right?
He was, yeah. It was awesome being down at convention, and it was really cool. It was a lot bigger audience than normal. The topics were pretty wide varying. They had a great couple keynote speakers. I mean, we had guys doing flips, handstands on freaking on the podium, which was the most impressive part to me. I forget the gentleman's name off the top of my head. It'll come to me, but he did did a backflip on stage. Of course, it's all set up as far as why you do those things, but the speech was really good. It wasn't just a bunch of charades, but he ended up doing all these different tricks and kind of building that into his speech, but he ended up doing a handstand on the podium, which is just a regular little podium, like a little
Like
square
right on
podium.
top of it, like
On top of it, dude, got up, lifted his legs up, boom, complete handstand. His for all of you viewers at home, the point was in that part of the talk was about balancing your life. You know, people believe that you always strive to have a balanced life as if it's a destination, and his point was you're always balancing. And he did some juggling as well. So it was basically about embracing the chaos that, like, when you try to get a balanced, quote unquote, balanced life, that it just doesn't exist. You're over there for a minute, like maybe spending more time with family than you were, but then work demands come in or vice versa. And his point to that handstand was he was never balanced. It was shaking and moving. I thought this would be quite the
like y-
show
it,
if he eats dust, but he did. His whole point was that he was constantly having to balance when
So
you're
is that
constant.
intentionally off balance, right? Is that what he said?
Well,
Intentionally
it
off
was more
balance.
about just like understanding that you're going to be off balance and
and you
embracing
always
the
have to
chaos
work
of it
on it,
all.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah,
constant battle. It's never just smooth sailing. It's always and you think of that in terms of just like when I just went and measured someone's house, right? And we were just talking about like the kids, and it's like, yeah, like got something every single day with the kids, have work, and it's like there's so much work where it's like, where do I stop working and then start participating, as far as and what am I making and what am I not going to make? And then a lot of the times it's finding that balance to where it's like, okay, I'm just going to work super late today since I don't have to go get the kids or I don't have to pick them up till like 8:39, and then that gives me time tomorrow to leave at 4:30, 5 o'clock to make it to the 6 o'clock game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that constant balancing that
Yeah,
he
it's
was bringing up in that. And it was the same. He did some juggling and was like moved more into, he learned to juggle two then three balls, and that the when you're juggling and you add another ball, like that takes a whole new skill. Like you got to learn something new, just one more ball to juggle, and you got to learn something new. But there's always a pattern to this, to the juggle, to life. It was a really great talk. You'd have to go to convention to catch that kind of stuff. Go to the show and get the full
the full
like
experience,
delivery of it,
right?
because obviously I'm not an expert in his take on all this stuff, but he delivered it well, and it made a lot of sense. The balance thing really struck me because I own two companies. I've got three kids in the house. I've got two grown kids. I've got
Your
multiple
grandbabies.
locations. I've got two grandchildren. And then you try to fit in a football game with I watched my son's football game last night, and trying to fit all of that in, embracing the chaos made a heck of a lot of sense to me. Like, what I really took out of it, and then we can move on, was that you're always you add undue stress when you're trying to strive for balance. Like if you just say, hey, the day is what it is, you make the best plan of it, but when things get kind of crazy and you're off balance, you just get back on balance,
Right.
and so you're not adding that stress to your life. Like, I need a balanced lifestyle. Truth is that if you prescribe to his take, you're never on balance. You're always trying to
It's
find it and to embrace that.
rolling with the punches, right? It's you just that's what you got to do. It's everything's a constant thing, and that's what we talk about too. You know, in our meetings, it's like you try to be so focused on one thing that if something goes wrong, it ruins your entire day. But if you're always with that constant mindset of, all right, I'm going to go focus on this, but what if something pops up? All right, you got to be able to move quick.
Yep. Yeah, and he did one more piece of it where he was on a unicycle, showing that thing's never truly balanced. You're always doing it. Right. Looks like Jose wants to say something.
There you go. I just had to unmute it, guys. You know, it's funny you talk about balance and Daniel mindset and making sure that you are not creating the chaos, right? And I just happen to be golfing. I suck at golf. These guys know it. They're not going to lie. I said we'll use one of my balls, but you know, I didn't let my lack of experience in golfing dictate my day. I'm still having fun.
I do.
We're still
That's
making
why I
good
don't show up
conversation.
to golf.
Yeah, I know. That's why you don't show up. We talked about that. It's not like those memes with the guy in the papers like, you know, F it, I quit, and he's throwing it, and then he says, "Never mind, I'm just kidding." They show him picking up the pile of papers. You're right. Balance goes with a lot, and if you can find a way to stay balanced, chances are you're going to stay a little more organized, and you're going to be able to roll with those punches a lot easier.
So Justin does have a question. He wants to know, and since we're in different markets, you know, we're in Michigan, you're in Kansas. If we're doing a lot of sanitary base, because he sees it replacing Flash Cove. And I don't know your thoughts on that, but I know you've been dealing with the same thing that we've been dealing with over here, is the PVC free or non-PVC, depending on which manufacturer you're talking to.
Yeah, you know, I've seen more specifications for Flexco and their base system and welding to the floor. I believe that's what he's referring to when he says sanitary base. And Durafloor came out with, and I didn't know this, and it may have been out for a while, but like Durafloor has preformed and inside and outside corners, and then of course, you know, you'd make the straight runs. Flexco's a little overkill on some of it because it's like you know, it's expensive. You have to buy the straight runs, and if you're doing vinyl that has preformed inside and outside corners, then and you border the entire room essentially, that's oftentimes a little more affordable than doing a sanitary system, but it is gaining steam. I would tell you that. I think it's the frustration with inside and outside corners from an installation standpoint is why not, at least in our market, it's not as much of a design desire. They just soon have it flash coving and heat welded. But I think it's more of a performance standpoint that, you know, a lot of guys have trouble welding those outside corners and welding your inside corners. Guys are still, I go on job sites and see caulking on inside corners and stuff like that. And I understand it. Like the sheetrock's not perfect, and, you know, you've got all these other things, but I seen a trick little sister did, you know, with
the flashing,
sheet
the metal
metal,
flashing,
metal flashing for that kind of stuff. So that was pretty cool to see that. So there are some things you can do as an installer to improve that scenario. I particularly like the outside corners done that way because it gives you a real good backing. Where we fail on, and you should be, you probably should teach us more than me, but where I see failure on outside corners and inside corners, but primarily outside corners, there's nothing behind it.
Yeah.
And then when you try to weld two pieces of weld with no body behind it,
open up.
Yeah, it almost like just disintegrates them, depending on which vinyl you're using. So, and then you get these gnarly, like, you go back and you try to weld that, and before you know it, you have this gnarly looking outside corner. So
But yeah, we don't see it too. I haven't at least seen it too much over here in any of the bids or on any of the projects. So that's something that we'll be looking for. So if we do, I'll definitely let you guys know.
Yeah, Jurfloor just the only reason I know about that is they had we had a bid come out that specified their inside and outside corners, and I was like, I didn't even know they made them. Must be pretty new, but yeah.
Right, and just searching it up, it looks like even Nora has their own, and then you get into the preform stuff, like just outside of Sanitary Base, and Ropey has their own flash code where you can send them whatever material, and they put the metal on the backing for you, and it's that stuff right there. It's I don't know even what to say about it because it was not that fun to work with when we did it, but that was like it had been like at least 20 years ago when we first did it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've never used it. Never
Go
done
ahead.
that.
Was that the OEM place out in Muskegon, Daniel?
Yeah, Orthopedic
Oh,
Associates.
yes, that was an absolute nightmare. Um,
Cause that,
just no knowledge, zero instructions on how to do it, so we had to figure it out, and it was brand new. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
so do you guys have anything else to say about convention at all last week? I know we just wanted to catch things up, and Justin does say thanks, guys. Only worked with Nora and Mannington. Mannington is I don't want to say that,
Yeah.
man.
Well, it's not, those aren't our comments, but we'll try not to perpetuate it.
Yeah.
Good catch.
The only thing about last week is I would say is, and I think we kind of say it all the time, is get yourself off balance, right? Intentionally off balance. Go to some place that you might not feel you're going to fit in. Be uncomfortable for a little bit. Before you know it, you might come out of the visit or the convention or the meeting with a friendship like ours. You know, and you might meet some pretty cool people at these places. You don't know where your tribe's at until you start traveling.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was on the phone with him earlier, and I said, man, a good joke would have been that he took the red eye to and from Nashville.
The literal red. Is my eye still red? I think it
Yeah.
is.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, so I'll say the last thing about convention is there was a lot of really good technology pieces. I think that's just because there was like more companies involved, and there was more stuff aimed at technology and AI and those types of deals, multiple seminars and talks. Oh, thanks, Roland. I appreciate that, brother. I did a talk on how AI is kind of replacing that middle 80% of businesses, and ours is no different. I mean, we're in the process now at Stewart and Associates of building narrow AI. I kind of made sure to explain a little bit more about the separation between general, like large language models like ChatGPT that everybody kind of knows, and you'll still use those in building narrow AI, but this generative AI and artificial intelligence, like super intelligence that you see on your YouTube feed of the end of the world stuff, there's real dangers there. Most of the experts that bring these dangers to the forefront, they really are saying like AI should be utilized for narrow, like very specific things because they can replace people, but not have the harmful effect side if you are designing them to only do one thing at a time. And we're far enough along with general AI that those narrow AI models can be built. You probably have heard of AI agents, and those AI agents are just like employees. You have to train them, sometimes even more, but once they're trained, they never forget.
Right.
And they work 24/7 if you want them to. So we're in the process of trying to eliminate a couple of roles in our company and replace them with AI agents, and then move those people into more valuable roles. So we're not going to let them go. We're just going to move them into more valuable roles where they can produce more benefit for the company, more roles that are more personally fulfilling than just data transfer and placing purchase orders, the purchasing and that kind of thing. So there was a lot of that, and it was cool to see a lot of that. And then you get, like you and I, Daniel, and your brother were, and many people were in business, but in the flooring business, but we also installed. So I also got to get my geek on to go watch Novalis put on, their seminar installation stuff. And so it was a really good mix, probably the best mix of both worlds. If you're wanting to be in the flooring business, but also you're an installer, it was really valuable.
Right. In which a lot of the guys are, right. So it's really beneficial for everyone.
So, you know what? You reminded me real quick, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to drag that on, but the ripples of the national event are still happening right now via LinkedIn. Mr. Joseph Richards had asked a question about how Daniel and I are utilizing AI, because he was actually there an extra day because he heard that Daniel was going to speak initially, and then that changed. So he stayed an extra day there. He wanted to hear Daniel's thoughts on AI because he's an avid listener. And thank you, Mr. Richards. We appreciate that. And the conversation on there is based off of the conversation that he and I had for a few minutes on how we're utilizing AI to kind of help us out with some of our takeoffs and our bids and some of that process where you can make one person can be many if you do it right. And you, like you said, Paul, you got to teach it, and then it don't forget. It still makes mistakes, but it don't forget.
Yeah. Once you've caught all the pitfalls and the problems, boy, it can produce and produce the way you want every time. Now, there's always stuff humans change, and then so your agent has to change. But the key is that once you train it and you've trained it properly, it's it's a done deal. Well, implementing effective quality control measures. I was going to throw out there just a few things and let you guys wrap on it. The way that I thought through this in my notes was set expectations with your crews. So guys are really probably sick of hearing me say, hey, this is a really important client of mine. I don't want any issues. If you have any problems, you call me. I'll be there, or I'll have somebody come. We don't want to do anything that, we need to get this job done effectively and efficiently, but it needs to look awesome. So if you have any problem, I'm always setting that bar as high as my expectations are. Proper job setup. So, making sure that the everyone is kind of, you send a crew out that, if they're focused on their installation and not so focused on dealing with the superintendent and schedule and stuff. And for my company, our PMs manage that deal to make sure that the project manager at the firm or whoever's running the project is trying to stay out ahead of us, and that they have their HVAC on, and that the buildings, they give us time to do our moisture tests, and everything's like ready for the crew to go out and effectively install. And then client management, or client expectation management. I see that as a really, really important one. It could probably be number one, because often we'll get something and our customer has this idea in their head of perfection or how it's going to look, especially when you're doing some custom stuff. And so explaining to the client some of the things not to be expecting up front, it may cause you to be in a discussion with your client. Even if it's a homeowner, oftentimes they have this visual in their head, and you want to draw that out and make sure that you know what they're talking about or what they're expecting, And when you know what they're expecting, you can kind of manage those. And then last but certainly not least, and could also be number one, is crew training and equipment. So proper training for your crew, or you yourself as an installer being properly industry standard trained, having a VTI, and having the right equipment. So
Right.
I just wanted to puke all that on you, Daniel, and let you respond.
And not only that, right? We talk about the salesman training quite a bit, because if you catch things early on, like you get ahead of that quality control right away, when it's like, I know this is going to happen, so let me get ahead of that. And that's kind of the double-edged sword when you're bidding stuff, though, is because you know it's going to happen, but you have to bid it almost like you don't, because you know everyone else is going to leave it out.
Yeah, that is, man. You just hit on something that's the hardest part. I was telling some people, I think I've said it on here plenty of times, but I wish we did it here the way they either used to or maybe still do in Europe when they're building a commercial building. Is they take the closest to the average is the winning bid, not the low bid and not the high bid, but the closest to the average. And so you're always trying to just bid the job properly then, and not trying to, like, I know what you're talking. I mean, what we do. Yeah, you look at the deal and you're like, oh, this is going to have that, but it's not specified. And if some other estimator on the other side of the city is not a old installer, doesn't understand how hard that's going to be, or why that's going to be needed to be done, whatever the scenario, and you include it, well, you just priced yourself out of the bid, and you're not even having that argument with your client anyway.
But it is it's conversations that I like to have sometimes, ahead of time, to where it's like, hey, I know, like, this isn't going to be included, but just when you go through walkthroughs, and this is where people start remembering you too. It's like, this has got to change, because what you guys have spec just isn't going to work. And then, I can put in an RFI, but they're not always guaranteed to come back before the bid is due anyways. So
if you get enough time to get an RFI out and get it appropriate, the appropriate time in around here, it's 10 days. Well,
sometimes you don't even have that long.
I'm not even opening up the drawing sometimes in 10 days,
You know what?
Right.
It's funny you guys are talking about that, and I'm sorry I'm packing up my golf cart right now, but I turned my video off because I'm walking around. But I got one of those phone calls today, right? There was a lot of items on there like, hey, I'm including this, but I flat out told myself, I feel like I'm going to price myself out. And you know what? He called me today and said, hey, I need you to meet me on the site so we can go over a couple things and make sure that you're on par and we're both happy so we can pull the trigger. But it was about being open and transparent, and I was able to look at that project like an installer and still bid and still be fairly competitive.
I'll tell you another thing that does work, and I know this is maybe spend a lot of time on the one thing, but when I find something that my conscience won't let me leave it out type deal, then I just separate it. I give them a base bid per plans and specs, and I put voluntary alternate to, do XYZ. Like if you're going in Flash Cove, for example, around in a remodel, and it's got like carpet. Well, you should know you're going to have to remove adhesive, probably grind the floor. But at the very least, remove adhesive, prime it, skim coat, that kind of thing. But I have yet to find where, if it wasn't planned for sheet vinyl, I always have a problem with this sheetrock being too high. So I figure on filling all the way around the room, and I just put like filling sheetrock gap at floor to floor to wall transition. Because if your cove doesn't have anything to attach to, I mean, what can you do? So your cove stick. That may be German to some of you carpet guys out there, but you vinyl guys know what I'm talking about.
Speaking of carpet, did you see this Rollin comment? Sure didn't come to NFIC. Oh, that's right. You don't do carpet. But the crazy thing is that we have 3 people that are NFIC certified over here. So
yeah, boy. Yeah,
so I might not do it, but I did like the class. I learned a lot in that class.
So that's you were mentioning just way up front with the bids and
just
getting it right there.
ahead of things.
That's kind of the almost client management part that kind of throws in with that. Whatever your salesman or your estimator or your PM or whomever, whatever part of flooring you're in, whether it's retail, residential, whatever, if you're direct to customer and you're doing retail work or residential work direct with customer, you are who sets the expectations. So I find that's a pitfall. Like, you can do a really great job, but they just had something else in their head and boom, tile comes to mind, like grout joints, or particularly subway or a white glazed tile with dark grout. I always like, straight up, you understand this is an eased edge glazed wall tile with dark grout. You are going to see the grout joint is not going to look consistent because you have such contrast between the two. It's stuff like that you want to try to,
But it's kind of easier these days, though, because people like that tile that kind of looks a little bit off, right? Looks more handmade, and that's kind of the look that a lot of people, I mean, I don't know
if that's what they're expecting. If they're expecting a nice, tight, straight grout joint, you'll give them that. But it just, you can, even striking, which I'm sure if there's any tile guys on here, would be like, well, you should strike your joints. Yeah, you can strike them too. But then once you sponge them off, you're still going to have just a little bit of inconsistency in the grout joint. Anyway, that's too much on that one piece. I was just stating that, like, what you said is 100% true. Setting those expectations way ahead of time, even in the bid.
And we can even get it as far as talking about the culture of the company, right? Because when you're looking at the quality, you have to have people. The culture has to be there to where you're like, hey, there's something going on here, and they bring it up to you instead of them just. And I've seen it time and time again where, and typically it's a subcontractor that, or trade partner, however you want to call them, that, you talk to them, and it's always, with us, it was always on someone else's project, right? But they're like, well, they're not paying us for this, so I'm not going to do it. And it's got to be, you have to have that culture to where people can just tell you, hey, this is what's going on. This is, I can't do this, basically. They have to feel comfortable saying that.
Yeah, I like how you kind of bring up things that encompass multiple deals, because that's kind of setting the expectations to your crew. Like, hey, if there's any problems whatsoever, call me. Like, I want to know about them. We can discuss if it's going to cost more, if it's going to cost less, if it's going to take more effort, whatever. But call me. Don't just do it and then say, well, the sheetrock was not plumb, or there was my base looks like crap because there's sheetrock mud left at every joint at the bottom. Okay, but can we talk about that before we put the base on?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, let's chat through the situation and make sure that either we're going to do it or we're not, but don't just go forward with something that's not going to turn out super high quality. And that's that culture thing. And you can build it, like you said, with your teams, from like them picking out that stuff. And you don't even, although I would always do it. I mean, even with our hourly guys that are fantastic, I'm always still like, hey, this is really important that we do this right.
Right. And that's what we do too. So you have to set those expectations like you said. So we have our Monday meeting every Monday, and I will bring out all the projects that we did last week and talk about those and see, what went wrong, what went right. And then I'll bring up all the projects that we have going for this week. All right, these are the ones for this week. Let's go over this. So that way, if you have any questions, you ask them now. If I have anything to say, this is where everything is brought out to the table. So that way, hey, this client right here is going to be looking at us under a microscope. So if anything is wrong, we need to catch it right away.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that your culture hit on was setting up the job. I mean, I know that crews dislike nothing more than get to a job site and the materials aren't there, or they don't have any place to work, and nobody talked to the company. Um, the no, I am not NFIC certified. But getting that falls under company culture as well as that job setup, like RPMs, making sure that the crews are going to be most efficient. I know when I'd show up to job sites, glue wouldn't be there, or this wouldn't be there, or that wouldn't be there. I mean, we all run short on materials here and there. Things happen. We're not perfect, but the just not being ready and not going and kind of making sure, calling your superintendent the day before, hey, my crew's going to be there tomorrow. You got room for them? Or where are they starting? What room number are they starting on? Let's go over the drawings together, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a culture as well.
I mean, a lot of what we talk about can be tied back to culture, and you just have to, as soon as you realize that, that's where you start building the culture and making it so that way you just always build on that, and everything is based on your culture.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly, you get to build on one thing that can, like you're saying, many small
time make big time, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it's the small details that take big effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you're talking about the gaps at the bottom of the wall. Well, guys, we could have had this done and completed while we were patching. Now we have to go back and we have to spend a day taking the base off, putting mud in there,
Mm-hmm.
putting it back on. And it's like just explaining to them, the time, what it costs basically to do that when you're doing it is minimal compared to what you have to go back and do.
Mm-hmm. And then what about oversight for you guys? Do you have one of your crew leaders?
Yep. So it's
like
everyone
writing up a pre-punch, or how do you guys handle that stuff?
Yep, and it's I would like to say that it's a daily thing, but that's kind of unrealistic in the real world, especially when you're on a huge project. But there is times where it's like, okay, have the person in charge of that project go through and walk everything, right? And it's like this is where culture becomes very important too, because you have to be able to take whatever is wrong and then go back to the people and say, this is what's wrong. We have to fix it. And not only that, you explain to them why, right? And because a lot of the people that it hurts their ego, I think, because it's like, I thought I did a good job. And it's like, maybe they did do a decent job, right? It's just people have different expectations or different standards. And when you're trying to hit a certain standard, it's, it may pass, right? But to me, it doesn't. It doesn't meet my standards. So that's why we have to do it. And this is what we have to change about it.
Yeah, just like I'll give you an easy example. LVT and hollow metal door frames. We caulk every one of them, and I expect my crew to caulk every door frame, even if it's cut in very nicely. And I had one of our better crews say, "Oh, well, the contractor said he was going to do it." I'm like, "He just go back and caulk it, please." Like, you cut it in so perfectly. I get it. It doesn't really look, but it's still not perfect. Like cutting into them jams, if you do commercial, you know how the bottom of those jams get burgered
All
up pretty
bent out.
bad.
Yeah.
They get bent out real bad because they have the spreader bar in the middle, and they leave
then
the
when they
spreader
take them
bar
out, they just
forever.
hit it with a hammer and it makes the bottom of the door frame jet out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't break away like they think it should. I don't think they're really designed to do that. You should cut them with an oscillating tool. But that stuff happens, and the bottoms of those door jams are jacked up a lot of times, and so it's just best to caulk them. All that being said, what I'm driving at there is that it just gives setting that expectation for your crew, and um, they may have done a good job to your point earlier, Daniel, but it was just a little bit incomplete, right? It just didn't quite check the box for me.
It has a check every single box, and if it doesn't, it's like, let's rework it a little bit.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you did a bad job. It just means that, hey, we need to kind of tighten things up a little bit, you know? So company culture is probably the biggest one that can affect a lot of these things. Company culture and training, which almost anything you do could be put under the umbrella of company culture, right? Like even having a culture of training, that kind of stuff, it can be put under company culture. But um, company culture, training, and then salesman, client expectation management. What other equipment? Speaking of equipment, not today's sponsor, but Shag Tools is a proud sponsor of the Huddle. And if you need equipment, go over to shagtools.com and get you some.
Use the coupon code Huddle10 for 10% off.
Amen.
And guess what? I told everybody here to use Huddle 10.
Nice job.
So I heard everything you guys are talking about. Sorry, I just didn't want to interrupt with all the video going everywhere and the noise. I'm actually leaving early. They're doing the raffles right now, but I also got a football game in a little bit.
Talk about balancing life all the time.
Right.
Sometimes.
So what's your take on the quality control measures we talked about, Jose? Do you have any input there?
It's
Or did we do a great job?
You guys did a great job. No, you guys went over a lot of things, but essentially, right? Like my take is it's about consistency, right? The same way we're on here every week, it's about being consistent. It's about starting with your guys, holding your making sure that you're doing your best to hold people accountable for their part, and also having the teammates back, all the way to making sure that communication is happening across the board. Could we be better? 100%. Is there going to be mistakes? 100%. Is it going to get better? Yes. Right. But it takes everyone. It like the culture. It takes everyone in that tribe, in that company, in that building, and that's not my job mentality really doesn't help build the system, but if everybody does their part, then it's easier to recognize the faults and where the holes are and how we can all be better. It's just open communication. Daniel's been really good at that. I'm still a little bit brash when it comes to delivery. I'm like to the point. I don't try to tiptoe around it. Like, no, didn't like it. But I do pass on. I do pass on when our clients are absolutely ecstatic and happy with everything, right? Like that is one thing that when everything falls into place, communication is great. the installation goes well, the experience altogether is good, I pass that information on right away because that's what it's all about. Sometimes it's not sometimes a thank you and a pat on the back goes a little bit a little bit further than just it's part of your job description. I'm still working on that though.
Well, I think all of us, speaking for myself anyway, can be better at giving that kudos to people when they do a
Kudos, there you
great
go.
job. You know, a lot of times you I use special occasions to thank them. But yeah, people like to know they're doing good work for you, and when they do good work, that it's noticed as much as when they don't do good work and you have to correct them. So
You know what? That brings me back to when at the convention, Kevin Keefe had congratulated like Rollin, you did a great job, like on the presentation that they did. But he didn't say like, man, you did a great job. He said it like Hancock, like Will Smith and Hancock. Good job.
good job.
I just started making fun of him right away. It's like, sorry, I just kind of went off topic there a little bit. That
No, you have to go to convention to catch those things too.
yes.
And I think, you know, you can start talking about who owns quality control, right? Some places have entire departments just based on quality control, but I think with us, it's almost every single person has to be a part of that
Yeah.
because there's so many moving pieces. It's not just going through like an assembly line, right? Which would make it way easier for someone just to keep on checking. It's all right. I did the bid. So now we got to double check it. And all right, we got the job. Now we got to double check and go over all the submittals and make sure all that is good. And it's a constant battle all the way down the line. So when you're installing it, you know, the installers have to own their own quality control too, and then give that feedback back to the office because I mean, everyone has to start looking at their bottom line. It all feeds back up, right? And we have to make sure that there's a constant flow of communication.
Yeah, I agree. I tell you, there's a lot of people, like you said, there's obviously some companies out there that do they have their own like quality assurance piece, and I did that for quite a while. We had a installation quality control person. Um, the the thing that I find more effective though is the expectation of the crew being there, and then you come in as the project manager. I go to my jobs at least once or twice throughout the duration of them, depending on the size, obviously, and just show up and write a pre-punch early that will kind of help set that tone as well. So, um, and it just makes the crews better. They take notice of that our guys have good hand skills. Many of them have good ratings. Um, it's not that they don't have the ability. It's at 5 o'clock on Friday. I
Bam.
don't want to do this XYZ, or that 3 o'clock on Friday, that to do it, the right way is going to take another hour.
Right. It's going to take till
It's
6
getting
instead of
over that.
5.
Yeah, it's getting over that our crews have gotten really good at. It's like, it's better that than spending the first 6 hours on Monday fixing it.
That's a hard thing to learn, right? Like, I get it, right? Like everybody's life is important, and you have a lot of things at play, and everybody's got to put themselves first. But when you recognize that mentality hurts the company, the crew, depending on the size, and maybe you don't recognize it until you're the one that's most affected by. Maybe it's hard to recognize.
Try and save some bandwidth.
I think that quality control is individualized. Can you
I
hear
turned
me?
your video off to save bandwidth.
You're breaking up a little bit. Yeah, we can hear you. You just were breaking up a little bit.
I was just adding on to what Daniel had said about it starts with an individual and then it affects the company if individuals don't hold themselves accountable for not only their quality control, but their crews.
Yeah, I agree. I'll tell you another, just a side bit to this is how you talk to the crew about the deal. If you come at the crews, um, the way that a lot of the Facebook people go at people when they are looking at their work or they're judging, like that never works. It doesn't, it may, you may get that particular thing fixed, but if your goal is to demean the guy or the girl, the installer, if your goal is to demean them, then you got the wrong mindset, or to show them how much better you are than they are. I see that sometimes. Um, Look, my goal, and I've taught this to all my staff. And my son runs our Kansas City division, and I teach him this same thing. Like, put your ego aside and think about what the goal is. The goal is to not have that happen. How can you correct your crew on a particular scenario that prevents it from happening in the future, so that you have less and less quality control concerns? So go at them and you can teach them, but you got to have the right attitude and the right approach. That's just a little side note. I just see demeaning stuff. I was part of that, meaning I'd been an installer where, I didn't do it the best early on, and the guy that would come behind me and look at it would just dog, and then try to dog you with the company and dog you with other installers. Well, if you're doing that, dude, you're not accomplishing. Maybe you should readjust your goals to making sure that not only is the job done very well for your client, but at the end of the day, you don't have to keep battling those things because you take the time. I think Jose said it earlier, to like show them how to do it differently. I mean, I've had some of the best installers. We talk through stuff and they get like, oh yeah, like they're better than me at tile, but I come up with an idea that helps them in their install for it to go better. So have that mindset where you're trying to actually improve them and not just, prove them wrong.
Right. And that was one of the things I was going to hit on too, was like a total mindset shift where you you look at things where it's, well, I want to be out by 5 o'clock, so I'm only going to go up to this point. And then you actually have to look at that mindset and be like, well, if I do that, then next week I'm going to run into this and this and this. Like, I'm putting myself behind as soon as I start.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at that in your own mind and be like, okay, if I can set this stuff up the way I need to and make sure it's done right, next week I won't have to worry about it. But then it's a snowball effect almost, where especially on the big projects where it's like, all right, I didn't do it last week, so that puts me behind this week, which is going to put me behind the following week. And it's just making sure that you're trying to stay ahead of everything.
Yeah.
Rollin says that the Florida CFI chapter is ready to go. How about Michigan? And I think we were looking for someone to run it, because I can't commit the time that it takes to run something like that. So
it's in the works. It sounds like that's awesome. The Florida chapter is
Can you guys
going.
hear me?
CFI's got the local chapters rolling
yeah,
pretty well. I think that'll be number 14. Florida will be. So that's an awesome thing that Roland's in charge of, and doing a great job over there at CFI, putting together those local chapters. So kudos to Roland and CFI for doing that. That brings training, camaraderie, and things like that more back down to the local level, where I think can be really effective. And like we said, that's one of the most important things, having trained crews. I don't care how nice you are. how well you motivate or coach along. If they don't have the skills, they don't have the skills. So make sure that's at the forefront of your agenda, is to make sure your crews are trained, and that you're getting them, a little bit of my talk was about accountability, how we tend to think that accountability kind of has a bad name, where we think of it as judgmental. It's almost got all these negative connotations, but accountability is just literally the ability to account for something. So it's like having systems in place where you have the ability to account for that particular installer's skill level. And if you have systems like this in your company, there's obviously the VTI that will do this for you. But if you don't use that right now, you will in the future. But if you don't use that right now, use a spreadsheet or something and judge their. I know that a really good company I used to look up to had scorecards for each one of their guys, like laminated scorecards, and had they knew how good their guys were out in the field and where they're falling down. And if something got done not great, they could pull out that scorecard for that particular guy and be like, man, you should know better. You were XYZ and XYZ, pointing out that he had been trained on those particular items. And so it's like, that's essentially what we're doing with the VTI, is just giving you a scorecard and the ability to account for your crew's abilities, and then have good way to increase those abilities and their skill set. So,
yeah, I mean, got to start somewhere, and accountability is huge. It's not, like you said, it's just everyone has accountability with something. It's just putting it down and letting everyone know what it is. But I mean, I did want to bring this other QR code up, scan this and let us know what content you want to see on here. We did pop this up last week, popping up again, because, we're always looking for everyone's input to make sure that we're delivering the best possible, podcasts, and then in the future webinars that we can, we want to make sure that they're beneficial for everyone. So if you can, scan that and give us some feedback. We
jump on.
We want to hold ourselves accountable for the content that we're putting out. And
this is our ability to account right here. Is like Daniel was saying, we want to hear from you guys. We want to bring relevant, important topics that you care about. And without your input, we don't know, other than our experience, which by itself is not sufficient, honestly. So otherwise, we kind of work together to get topics, but we will get them one way or another. It's always best if it comes from you guys, though.
Yeah, and one thing is topics, we try to be as proactive as possible and try to bring information and provide information that is valuable to everyone. But what are some of the struggles that everybody is going through right now, right? We're about to hit wintertime. Is there anything during the winter months where you have a hard time finding work? Were you looking for work? How are you going about it? We have some of those struggles too. How can we find a solution?
Managing the work during those periods of time when so many people are off. There's a lot of things that can go into it. If you guys are interested in any of that, scan the QR code on the screen and give us your feedback. Let us know what you're thinking about and what your current challenges are, and we'll do our best to address them. And if we don't know, we'll bring on an expert that can help us out. So,
and we didn't win the bid on the sea limit, Daniel.
Oh, the sea limit, the climate.
All right. Well, that is bringing us to the end of our podcast here. We want to thank everybody for commenting. We really love all the topics that you guys have suggested in the past. So again, scan the QR code and give us some ideas. Dan, and if you could, I appreciate that, my man, about the AI. And if you want to scan that QR code and shoot it onto that topic, I know it's a little extra work for you guys, but it really helps us curate this stuff properly. I want to thank our sponsors, NAFCT and Divergent Adhesives today. Give them some love, guys. Get trained. Get with Divergent. They got great adhesives. When you need an adhesive that's going to really come through for you in tough scenarios, high moisture adhesives, Sonny's got a whole plethora of adhesives. And Sonny's so knowledgeable that you can really trust his ability to put together, like the best adhesives on the market. So give them some love and make sure to search out NAFCT. Coming soon will be a training hub for each individual installer to go and get trained from NAFCT. You'll have your own training hub that you can go through and select all kinds of different trainings at different locations that are relevant to you. So keep on the lookout for that. I'll keep you guys updated with that. I'll talk to you guys next week.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
guys.